On this episode of the Innovative Schools podcast, the last of this season, we're in Orlando at the Innovative Schools Summit, and we're going to be sitting down with Steve Spangler to talk about that connection to make with students and how to build experiences with them. Come on, let's learn together. Hey everybody, welcome to the Innovative Schools podcast. I am Jordan. This is the last episode of this season. We're excited to have completed it. I haven't introduced you yet. You can't start talking.
Okay.
Gosh, Steve.
Okay,
we have Steve Spangler with us. Now you can talk.
There you go. That's my cue along the way. You're supposed to go, now light the thing on fire, light your wallet on fire, and then do this. And we don't have to do any of that stuff. All we get to do is to sit and to talk, which is kind of nice. And I'm dressed this way and you're dressed this way. Just came off stage.
You did just come off stage at the Innovative Schools Summit, which was a fantastic session that I got to be a part of. I was on stage for a minute taking some pictures.
Because the whole room erupted in these bags. We had these wind bags, 8 feet long, and we tried to get 1,800 of them all inflated in under 10 seconds, and they used Bernoulli's principle to do it, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is really neat. It's so fun watching you present. Because you don't just, you talk about this. You don't just say, oh, here's all the Bernoulli's principle and everything like that, but you are leading people down a journey of learning and seeing not just, you kind of rig it a little bit. Like with the bags, you pinch the bag closed, you tell them to blow into it, and then you get up there and you say, I can do it in one breath.
Yeah.
And you get it, but you've led them down this journey of, you teach how to teach while you're teaching. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I thought about it. If you are going to teach people about creating experiences, but all you have is 5 points in a poem, and people are just looking at their phone, you're like, so how about they get to be a part of an experience? And if you tee them up and go, all right, everybody, now it's time for us to be part of an experience. And so pretend that doesn't work because people are like, stop. But if all of a sudden, the greatest teachers I've ever had are the ones that you get so entranced that you lose track of everything. And then you go, oh my gosh, I'm part of your little experience right now, right? Mm-hmm. So they create something for you that's so special. And so, everything I've learned from other teachers. I'm a really good observer, and you just look and you say, so how do you do it? How did you make this happen? And you try to capitalize on that and build some connections and just make it better for the students. Because ultimately, it's all about those students. But my job right now, almost 100%, people think because of TikTok and everything else that I do stuff for kids. Mm-hmm. I don't do anything for kids, really, other than I'm still allowed. I work for the Littleton Public Schools in Littleton, Colorado, and for the last 25 years, they've been kind enough to let me kick open a door a couple times a month.
Every once in a while.
Work on material, because if I'm not with kids, then I think I lose my edge. But 99% of my work is in professional development with teachers.
Yeah.
It's not fair to them to say, I'm going to bring you something that I haven't tested yet. So I want to show them stuff that I've tried, didn't work, tried it again, reworked it, and now I'm bringing it to you and saying, now make it better.
Yeah. So I have a question then, because you're talking about kind of observing and what people do differently and bringing that in. Is there a specific educator or person when, like, that light bulb moment for you? Who were you looking at when you said, wow, they're really doing something that I want to start incorporating into what I do as an educator, or what you do and all the work that you do?
I'll try to give it to you in 3 little chunks, all right?
Okay.
So you can kind of, I just have to say, when I was in kindergarten, so I grew up so I'll pull the curtain back a little bit, and maybe that's good, and maybe it's not. I grew up in a family of professional magicians.
Okay. It explains a lot.
And so some people don't like it. Some people are like, oh, I get it. You're just doing shtick, and it's not it at all. My dad, so the joke is, what's the difference between a magician and a pizza? And the answer is a pizza can feed a family of 5. So Dad had a real job, but I didn't realize, when you're a kid, you don't realize that your dad's kind of a big deal. So there's these big name magicians back in the 70s and early 80s that would show up at the house. This one guy, I'm trying to remember his name. Oh yeah, David Copperfield. But he was a young kid working on his first television special, coming and asking magicians for some help along the way. Yeah. And so I grew up in that world. My dad ran a magic school. So it makes sense for the fire wallet and whatever else. But what I can tell you is, while I was classically trained as a magician, worked my way through college as a magician, I love doing magic. What I learned from doing magic is presentation. What I learned about magic is building a connection, because any magician that's worth his or her salt has to work restaurants. And when you work a restaurant, it's the worst gig in the world, because people don't want you at their table. They just want to eat their meal. They don't want
Yeah.
some guy going, hey, want to see a card trick? So you have to learn to approach. You got to learn to, because you're getting paid by the manager to work. And so you got to learn to approach. You got to learn to create the experience. You got to learn to give some room. And so the first thing I ever learned, so when I'd go to kindergarten, show and tell was not just show and tell, it was showtime.
Yeah.
And my dad, we would practice showtime, you know? And so
It was your 3 minutes.
you got it. Yeah. And the lights on and do your 3
Yeah,
minutes or
yeah.
whatever. So I learned. And so it's so funny. Mrs. Carden, who was my kindergarten teacher. What's so funny is that she made the mistake of going, why don't we all go around the room and tell what our parents do? And so I go, well, my dad eats fire. And you could see every kid go, what? And you could see some kids going, that's not true. And
Yeah.
so back in 1975, nobody cared. So dad came to show and tell and lit up the torches, ate fire right in front. And when your dad eats fire, I don't care what your dad does, mine always wins.
Your
right?
dad's the coolest dad in school.
Because he eats fire,
Yeah.
cuts my mom into 3 pieces. It
Yeah.
all came out in counseling later on. So, but Mrs. Carden learned how to grab onto that and learned to go, what is that all about? And so she started to play off of those experiences going, well, what do you know about this? And so, I mean, she didn't say, one day, boys and girls were learning about air. She just put a pile of potatoes out one time and had straws. And she goes, could you guys put the straws through the potato? They'll look like porcupines. Bring them to me when you're done. Well, of course it doesn't work. Right? But she got a hold of Kathy Denton, and how she taught Kathy, I have no idea. But if you put your thumb over the end of the straw and jam it through the potato, remembering that brown is the potato and pale pink is me,
Right.
and it goes all the way through, every kid in that class is like, hey, how did you do
Wait a
that?
minute.
And she made Kathy the rock star. Teacher number 1, right? Teacher number 2, I'm sitting in, I didn't get a science fair. We had no science experiments growing up when I was in elementary school. When I got to 6th grade, there was a guy. He was like, you could go to this guy, Mr. London, always wore a suit every day and whatever, but he made a volcano. And he made a volcano not with vinegar and baking soda. He's using like carcinogenic stuff, and
is not
stuff comes
California.
out, and there's soot coming down and whatever. And he burned a hole, not through the table, but there's a burn mark
Into
in the
the table,
desk.
yeah.
And every kid wanted to be at the desk that had the burn mark. I thought, how cool is that? He made a volcano. And what I was learning was he created an experience. He didn't think he was probably creating an but I told people, how old? I'm 58 now, and I'm telling people about when I was in 6th grade. Then when I got to high school, in Littleton Public Schools, there was a chemistry teacher, and I didn't have him for that first chemistry class, but I could hear through the wall all the stuff going on, and then and there's a big explosion or whatever. And friends of mine who knew that I did magic and whatever, they're like, you got to take this Mr. Hodis's class. This Hodis guy is great. And Hodis, so stick with me, Hodis had this thing. He would ask a kid, he'd go, back in the day when you had Juicy Fruit, remember? No, you're too young. You don't
I do
know
remember
what I'm
Juicy
talking
Fruit.
about.
I do.
Yeah,
In the yellow?
And it had foil on it. You know
Yes.
the foil?
Yes.
That's very important. So he would take a kid and he'd go,
It had
anybody
flavor
got
for
gum?
about 8 seconds.
Yes. You know the stuff. And he'd go, anybody got gum? And so you'd take out that spearmint, whatever, or Wrigley's or whatever, and it had to have the foil. And he'd go, all right, ready? Take the foil wrapper, put it in your mouth. And so a kid would put it in his mouth and say, get it wet with your tongue, pull it out. And then he'd say, fold it up. And so he would take it from your hand, he'd fold it up, and he'd say, hold it in your hand, and you would hold it in your hand, and he'd go, concentrate, I can make it hot. And you're like, that's baloney. And all of a sudden, it got so hot in your hand, it would burn your hand. And you would think, is that a mind trick or what? It wasn't. It got hot. And he protected that secret for 20-some years until this kid came on the scene. That's a magic trick. Years ago, when I had learned that gypsies would do it, or fake mentalists would do it. They would say, I can control your mind and take the evilness out of your body. It was all baloney.
Yeah.
So it was a chemical. And this little chemical, he would dip his thumb in this little chemical underneath his desk, and he would load it up. And
Onto
so,
the foil as he's
on the
folding it
folder.
up. And
So I went home and I told my dad, I go, some guy at school, he's doing hypno heat. And he goes, well, you got to show him, right? And I go, yeah. So we're walking down the hallway. I go, Mr. Otis, can I see? He goes, no, I can't. And I go, watch this. I open up my Trapper Keeper. That's how old I am. And I get out that piece of aluminum foil. I had a little piece this way. I go, watch this. And I just put it in his hand, and it started to get hot. And he's like, Get over here. And so he drags me into a room, and we shut the door, and there's nobody in there. He goes, who are you? I go, I'm going to take your class next year, AP Chemistry. He goes, who are you? I go, I'm Steve Spangler. He goes, how do you know how to do that? I go, grew up in a family of magicians. He goes, don't tell anybody how I do. He says, it has been my guarded secret.
Yeah.
Guess what? Presentation. Long story short, he's the one who introduced me to Renee, my wife. I came to him and said, I want to do a science show for kids. And we had a little traveling science show when I was a senior in high school. And he said, you're going to need a partner. And I go, I already got a partner. He goes, you don't have the partner. He says, you need this person. He goes, and remember, it's a different time. He goes, do you see, what did he say? You see the attractive blonde who transferred into AP Chem from Bio second hour? And I go, no. And he goes, stop by second hour. Please remember, it's a different time, before you get all crazy. So two creepy people, well, one creepy guy and Steve's, and I'm peeking, and he goes, she's going to be your helper. And I went, no way. I said, I've never talked to her before, but that's captain of the varsity soccer team. She was National Honor Society, the whole thing. He goes, you're going to ask her. And I go, I'm not. And he goes, I command you. And I did, and she said yes. And here we are doing a little science show. Who would have ever known that we would go to college together, and then we'd get married, and we'd start Steve Spangler Science, and that was 35 years ago.
And here you are now.
And he knew what he was doing. It wasn't about it was about chemistry, right? He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew I was supposed to be a teacher. I pushed him on it too. I go, I'm going to be an ophthalmologist. And he goes, right, you're going to be a teacher. And he knew. So from beginning to end, here's somebody who knew the art of crafting experiences. He gave me just enough leash to do my own thing, make it feel like it was mine. Yeah. But isn't it amazing when you see a kid spark? Peter Benson from Minnesota, he's passed away, but he was with Search Institute. He said, every kid needs three things. Number one, needs a spark, find their spark. Well, that's next to impossible. There's people running around the world that still haven't found their spark, right? They need a champion. So somebody will champion the cause, and it can never be parents because parents will course correct.
Yeah.
So a kid can go, my spark is theater, and I think I want to go to school for theater. And the parents go, that's great, but you're going to get an accounting degree. That's called course correction. And then you need somebody to support the cause. That's where the parents come in. It's that threesome, that bam, bam, bam. Peter Benson was super smart. Doug Hodis knew my spark.
Yeah.
I was just in a room with 1,800 teachers, and they have that skill. It's just every once in a while, some guy like me has to go, remember the skill that you have?
Yeah.
Do that again.
Yeah. It's not what we were talking before we were recording about experiences. You've just shared kind of 3 experiences.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like what do you think set those experiences apart? What did those teachers do for you?
Yeah.
And what would you boil down to, like the things that teachers today, an educator listening as they're entering into summer, for them to think about of how to create that same spark and things through what they're doing with their students?
First thing I have to say is that we're constantly learning. So anybody who thinks that they've got this down, they've got the answer, I think they're wrong. So because I've been doing this now for 30 years. And I was in Florence, Alabama with my wife. I know a lot of people are going, you were in Florence. You were going to drop that one on us? I was in Florence, Alabama, and it wasn't that long ago, speaking for federal educators, federal education program administrators. And I travel a lot, so if I smell like lighter fluid, it's because here's the deal. Every day I wake up.
How does TSA feel about this?
That's a different podcast at a different time. Every day I wake up, every day I put lighter fluid in this side of my wallet. I've carried this wallet for 35 years. I put the lighter fluid on this side, and I put a little bit of money on this side. And I don't know if I'm going to use it that day or not, but if we get close together and I smell like lighter fluid, you know. And so check into a lot of hotels, and so I always like to go, hey, check in for Steve Spangler. Here's the titanium number. Do you have anything close to a fire escape or whatever? And so I think that's funny, and they think it's funny or whatever. I usually get like that. Yeah. So I check in, I do my thing, light the wallet up, and the person behind the desk goes, I don't know, I'll check and see. She turns around and does that thing, and I thought, that's kind of weird, wasn't it? That's okay. So I put it back in there. Then we grab our key and whatever, and we're working our way down. And there's coffee. I love coffee. And so I was like, let's go do the thing. So I got a line for the coffee person. It's like the barista, do you have something extra hot, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Light it up. I got nothing. And I looked at Renee and I said, my wife Renee, and I said, it's going to be a tough gig because I've never been to Florence before, but they're not like, I don't think they like to engage. And she's so smart. She goes, no, it's you. You didn't let them connect. You didn't breathe room into what you're doing. You were performing for them instead of with them. And I think that, and I'm a seasoned teacher, and I've been doing this for a long time, but isn't it funny you get into a routine and I didn't couch it in such a way. They thought that maybe I was making fun of them or maybe I was trying to pull one over on them. And what I needed to do is craft it in just a little bit different way to go, hey, I understand this is the greatest hotel in the world to be at. How long you been here? You know, I didn't connect first.
Yeah.
I didn't open that up before I just fired up my wallet. And they're kind of like, well, who are you? And I think the same thing happens in education. Sometimes we get so excited about the experience, we come in hot. We need to come in just a little different way and give them a chance to breathe. And what I'm saying is every group is different. Every group of children is different. Every person is different. And so it's not our experience, it's their experience, and we have to share it.
I think that's a really good distinction.
And I'm still learning how to do that. And sometimes it takes a smart person like your spouse to go, hey, Sparky, it's you. It ain't them. It's you.
Yeah. We wrote down
And
a
I
quote.
still smell like lighter fluid.
I was just starting to get a little whiff of it, honestly.
No, that's how I am.
To go along with that is a quote that we have from one of your previous presentations that we saw. It says, teaching is about connection first and foremost. If you don't have that, nothing else matters.
I think you're right. Well, I'm impressed that you would write down any quote that I said. So that's very, very good. So that's that. I think you're right. It ties into exactly what we were talking about. That's a privilege. When a student connects with you, what does that really mean? They share something. And so we create these experiences that give them the opportunity to go, let me try that. But they're still a little, I'm not sure if I want to do this. Once they connect, it's almost like they want to share something with you. During COVID, I don't know if you remember COVID, but there was
yes,
yeah, we
I
wore
was there.
masks, stupidest thing ever. We stood 6 feet apart, nothing in the science that said, but that's another thing at another time.
Another podcast.
So we were into May of COVID, and I didn't know, April probably, and I didn't know what else to do. Everybody's on lockdown. We're only going to be out of school for 2 weeks, so whatever. So we're into the third, fourth week, and I just remember opening up the laptop going, we got a lot of people that follow us on Facebook. That seems to be a good place where teachers connect at the time. TikTok for us was brand new at that point. So I decided for Facebook and said, you know what? I made a little announcement that said on Wednesday at 1 o'clock, I'm going to do a little program that'll show you some things that you can do at home with your kids. And teachers, if you're watching, that you could do if you happen to be doing this, online. And that first week, I think we had 250 people or so. Wow. And the next week we had 45,000. And it blew up. Why? Because people are like, well, we need this. And the public's like, well, we can connect. I mean, the kids are going through all this material and so forth. One thing led to another, and somebody put a snarky comment online going, this is all well and good, but my kid's going to miss STEM camp this summer. Can't do STEM camp online. I thought,
You saw that as a challenge, didn't you?
Yeah, because I'm tired of snarky people doing
Yeah.
because they can hide behind, the online stuff. And we had sold Steve Spangler Science, so the company that my wife and I had created, we sold that in 2018 to the people who own really good stuff and Discount School Supply. Excellence Learning is the name. And so I approached them and I just said, if I asked you to put a box of stuff together, could you do that? Because I figured I got to learn Zoom. I've been doing TV professionally for 30 years, but I've never done this thing where there's these little boxes of human beings that are trapped in there. And my job is to humanize the square. It was a term that Carly kind of came up with, to humanize the square. Carly's been my manager, my agent, everything for now over 20 years. And so the idea, she's like, well, why don't we offer a STEM camp? And so we did. On one of those days, we went, hey, it's STEM camp time. And if you want to have a STEM camp, if you want to be a part of this, like take the first 30. And the people at Steve Spangler Science I don't own anymore went, yeah, we'll do the boxes. Well, Carly comes running up the stairs and looks at me in our live thing going, it's sold out. Do another one. I mean, and we're doing another session at 10:30. And she goes, like
Just
that.
making it up as you're going.
Absolutely. And she goes, afternoon. We'll do a 1 and we'll do a 3. I figured, well, that week will at least help me understand 5 solid weeks.
Wow.
So where I'm going with it is this. There are these human beings that were trapped in these little squares, and I learned more about engagement than you could ever imagine. And what I noticed was this. Some kids would connect, some would not. There's so many stories to tell you, but this little girl that just, it gets me. I could not connect, man. I am telling you, I tried as hard as I could. Monday, I couldn't. She just wouldn't talk. I'd go to her and go, hey, tell me. And she'd nothing at all. Tuesday, Wednesday. There was a dog that was in our little studio, and his name was Frank. And Frank was a lab that was 120 pounds.
Wow.
And he came walking behind me one time in those first 3 days. And you could see all the kids in the square lean in.
They're
like,
looking at the dog.
I'm like,
yeah.
what are you guys doing? I go, oh, it's Frank. I forgot to tell you, it's Bring Your Dog to STEM Camp Day. Just made that up.
Yeah.
And so reached up. So you should bring your animal to STEM Camp Day, because tomorrow's Bring Your Favorite Pet to STEM Camp. So guess what happens? We had everything from dogs, cats, iguanas, hamsters, fish, whatever it was. This little girl was in the Zoom room way before we even started. We could, logged in.
Right, just waiting, yeah.
As soon as we came in, she was there with her dog, and she wouldn't stop talking. Just blah, blah, blah. And
Ready to
guess
go,
what?
yeah.
And the energy stick, and when I touch it on its nose, and that's a PETA violation probably. Yeah. And when we do this and this and this, and she came out of her shell because guess what? That was the connector that we needed. And every teacher who's listening is like, I know that. I know how that
You
works.
find that one point.
That one thing.
Yeah.
And how would I have ever guessed? You can't write that in a book. You can't do that's just teacher instinct and feeling. And when you see it happen, you go, oh, that's it. And that was the connector that to humanize it. That's what she needed. She needed to see I had a dog.
Yeah.
She likes dogs.
Now there's that connection.
So, it's crazy. As a teacher, I never thought that I was an emotional, sappy guy, but I think of things like this and I go, I wish I would have known that for so many years before, because I would have been such a better teacher.
Yeah.
But at least I can share the stories with teachers today, especially young ones.
You help other people farther along
I love it. I love this
forward.
conference because I see teachers who are just fresh, man, and you can tell. They're just like, "Wah!" And they're walking through the vendors. They take everything, because that's, do you have this? Yeah, I'll take that. And they take it all. They're excited, and they don't know what they don't know yet. And then I love seasoned teachers who are sitting there looking at it going, been teaching for 22 years. Why are you here? I need to find my why. I forgot it. I had just talked to a teacher in line who said, I was ready to wrap this up. How many years? 17. I go, you can't wrap up 17, your retirement and everything else? Yeah, I just wasn't happy. And isn't it funny that for some reason the universe brought her here and just said, what do you think about this? And nobody pounding at her. This is why you stay here. It's 5 points why you should stay. She's just walking through trying to figure out, do I still want to do this in my life? And she goes, I think I'm at the right place. And that's all she could say without tearing up.
Yeah. You were, we were talking, another thing we were talking about beforehand was as you give these big presentations and you come and you do book signings or you're talking to people and people just start opening up to you. These educators, 17 years, doing whatever, they're maybe lost or they're new and they're like, oh, or maybe a little starstruck, not to puff your ego. But
No. Well, that's nice. But isn't it nice that they want more than the signature in the book? They're not asking for the signature
right.
in
Yeah.
the book.
It's not just sign and go
The
on.
nicest thing
this
that people
connection
can
that
ever
we're
do.
talking about.
That's it. They want to take home a piece of what they just saw in there because for some reason something resonated with them. I truly think that we buy books, and some people read them. I mean, go through the whole thing. But I think some of it is I just want to connect to that person. So when I go through and I find a little something there, it's that memory of going, oh, you remember we took a second and just spoke. And I learned pretty early on, and Carly was great in teaching me this, that when that line appears, it doesn't matter how long that is, you stay for all of them.
Yeah.
And it's more than signing the book. You ask them, where are you from? What do you do? How did you get here? How did you find ISS? Because you want to know something about them, because in doing so, you're going to find out something else. And many of them want to share. And to have somebody, especially not to be sexist, it's not that way, but to see a guy, a big burly guy who was standing in line there, football coach it looked like, tears in his eyes, and all he wanted to do, he just went, just wanted to say thanks.
Yeah.
And that was it. Have fun. Just all he wanted to do was connect, just to say thanks. He waited through that entire line, didn't even buy a book, didn't want a book, didn't want a picture.
Just wanted to say
wanted
thank
to
you.
connect and just wanted to say thanks. And I couldn't say for what, because he wasn't at that point. And I don't think I would have been either. But isn't that crazy that people want to go through? Lady stood in line there. She had a shirt that we sold at a booth back in 2009, something like that, at a National Science Teachers Association. And she pulled the shirt out to wear because she knew I was going to be here. That's somebody who's now turning the tables and giving me an experience. She just gave me a best day ever.
Yeah.
That's the coolest part.
And I guess I just think about how we don't really grow out of that. Like thinking back to students, right? We've been talking about teachers for a while, but going back to students, they want that same thing, that same connection, that same longing for, hey, teacher, look what I did. Hey, look at my dog. You have a dog. Here's my dog.
Right.
Look at our dogs. Our dogs are awesome. It's the same for all of us. And so
we all want to feel valued.
we do.
We all want to be seen. And that's the thing that I've learned is that many times what I thought was disciplinary problems in the classroom with kids standing up and running over here and running over there, some of that is, I'm sure. But some of it is that once we open up an experience and the kids start to do I can always tell a teacher who says, I do a lot of hands-on science, but you see what's going on in the classroom, you're like, you don't do a lot.
Yeah.
Because the kids don't know just yet. Once they're into that and they're doing those, they're involved in your experience, you can see them go from this state of follow the directions to they've been transformed.
Yeah.
And you can see it in their eyes. And all of a sudden they're into this new thing and they're like, give me 3 more straws and I need some clay and get me and you see what happens
They're
to
thinking
them.
outside of what was just taught. They're taking it to the next level.
Absolutely.
That's what it was like for me. I can remember some specific teachers that there's something like, okay, yeah, I got the content. I can pass the test. And then there's others that the way that they made those experiences and those connections that I took what they were teaching and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And then I come back to school the next day and I said, I was thinking about this. What if you took these things and did that with it? And they're like, I don't know. Let's try it.
But isn't it funny that, and you have to look at the young teachers, for example, and be able to go, oh, that's a kid who's right there, and that's where you have to go. That's the greatest thing I've ever heard. You know what? If we can sneak some time at the end of the day, let's see how quickly we can do this, and that. I think I got a chunk of time for us to do that. I mean, that's just acknowledging the kid. You had the time anyway. You know what I mean? So you're ready to do the whole thing. So I tell teachers, if you're going to do Mentos and Diet Coke, you better not have 1 roll of Mentos and 1 bottle of Diet Coke because it's a bad day. Because the first thing a kid says when you pop those Mentos into a Diet Coke and it shoots up in the air, what do they get? They're going to go, do it again.
Yeah, one more time. Let me see it again.
And if you're a great teacher, you're like, I don't know. Back of my car, I got a whole bunch of Diet Coke. If we were to do it again, what would you change and what do you think would happen? And all I'm doing is seeding the experience. So, and the kids, they always say, drop more Mentos in and it's going to go higher. And
More
then
Coke,
you go,
more Mentos.
you got it. But you go, just get one because we're learning scientific method. And by the way, how are we going to drop them in too? We got to get them all in at one time. So now design. So you see what you're doing? You're just crafting the experience.
Yeah.
And then you go, I wonder how high it's going to go. We better put it up against the brick wall outside. We'll count the wet bricks on the way up. So if I drop 3 of them in, it goes up 10 bricks. But if I drop 7 of them in, it goes up 17 bricks. Now I'm gathering data.
Yeah.
So you might say contrived, and I'd go, you're right. But they're all part of the game. They're all part of this little experience. And if I can show and model that, then when we do it again, they're going to take a little bit more. And when we do another one, they're going to take a little bit more. So they're going to get to take control of this. But I got to first show them how to do it.
Right.
And make it seem like it's theirs.
And give them the opportunity for them to do it as well, not just.
And it's almost like you're the bad guy. Not bad guy, but it's the bad boy syndrome. You know what I
You
mean?
kind of
Bad
playing
girl
the
syndrome.
the
It's
side.
like, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
We're going to go launch toilet paper. And Miro, the custodian's going to get real angry if we got to roll it back up.
Yeah.
And the kids are like, we're in.
Let's do it.
That's right, because all of a sudden it's a little bit different. Something feels different here. And I love to see teachers who find it.
Yeah.
And they've been teaching for a long time, and they just needed somebody to go, that's what this is all about.
So I started thinking about, we've talked about a lot of different things, creating these experiences, and you have several decades of experience.
Thanks for pointing that out.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
There had to be some failures along the way.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
But I can see some some educators listening to this podcast and like, this all sounds great, guys, but what if it doesn't work the first time? What if it fails? I think what do you say to someone who's afraid to try these things because they're afraid it's not gonna work or it's gonna fail?
I think you break it into two sections. You go, well, what if the experience I'm creating fails? We've all done that before. So, I don't know, I didn't mix enough cornstarch and water, and I should have had a little bit more of this, or the glue didn't stick, or whatever. That's one type of failure, and that's an easy answer. That's like, well, of course you're supposed to fail, and the kids are supposed to see you fail. And so sometimes I've done it two ways, where you set it up and I purposely fail in front of the kids and let them, so you feign, the principle is called feigning ignorance, right? It's like, I just don't know how to do it. And the kid's like, you should have added more salt, or you should have used sugar, or whatever. So they become the rock star because they become part of their own discovery, So they'll take responsibility and jump in a little bit more when they're a part of that process. So feigning ignorance, kind of fun to do. But again, it's part of the experience. And of course, things don't work sometimes. But can I take it from another angle that goes, so what happens when you want to do this and you're not in a supportive environment? When you have somebody who shuts that down, an administrator who shuts that down. Sometimes when, as an educator, we do this kind of thing and all of a sudden there's some momentum there and then parents are talking about it. As we talked about today, if it gets to the dinner table, you win.
Yes.
That whole principle to unbox sometime. But the idea in short is if what you did that day was so cool that kids will talk about it at the dinner table, that's virality. That's amazing. Sometimes that can be a threat. I don't know who's listening to this. That sometimes can be a threat to an administrator.
Yeah.
Maybe an unseasoned administrator who's like, I'm fearful this teacher here is getting too much power. And parents like her too much and whatever. And so I've seen teachers cut that way before in terms of going, we're not doing this anymore. You're not doing this. And that's a weird environment to be in. But I've talked to teachers a lot. We do these workshops all over the country, and you get those teachers going, I wish I could do this. I just don't have a real supportive administrator. And part of the technique there is to do everything possible to get an administrator to come to a program like this. When you can experience Innovative Schools Summit with an administrator, things kind of disappear. The walls come down.
Yeah.
So instead of it's me against you, it's let's do this together. I need your help in creating this experience. Quick little thing. I was teaching at Regis University years and years and years ago. The National Hands-on Science Institute was at Regis University. I don't have a doctorate, but I was adjunct faculty. And after 3 weeks of science camp, great science camp, kids coming through, teachers coming through, we had an NSF grant, National Science Foundation. The head of the chemistry department, the department chair, brings me into her office and shut the door at the end. And I'm expecting her to go, great job, Steve Spangler. I mean, the kids were crazy and everything. And she says, quick thing, do you see the certificates on the wall right there? And she pointed to her multiple doctorals. She goes, that's hard work. She said, all I saw for 3 weeks is screwing around. She said, I've listened to kids screaming and yelling in the halls. I've seen our labs turned into a playground. I've seen teachers not really doing real experiments, but it's just milk and food coloring and whatever. And she says, my only hope is that someday those kids will have another experience where they realize that if you want that, it's hard work. She says, the only reason I let you guys go is because Dr. Giulianelli has an NSF grant and you're bringing some money to the school. But I don't want you to think that this is what science is about. You're trying to make it fun for them. Science isn't fun. And she dismissed me. Like, thank you. I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah.
And as I'm walking down the hall at a young age going, I wonder how she didn't get it. And I can't be so smart that I'm the only one who gets it.
Yeah.
But when you have people like that in the world, and there'll always be those people, I think you have to dust yourself off a little bit and just go, she didn't get it. And it's okay. I just got to be in a different environment. And so it's my job to put myself in a different environment. I can't change the way that she feels about it. I can be respectful. And so what I've learned to do is to be very respectful of the hard work that goes into it. But my job is just to get the kids excited to one day sign on the dotted line to go, I want to be that.
Yeah.
But there's no convincing. So what I learned, and the answer to that is to put myself in a different environment, different place, and say, thank you for this, but I needed to be in a different place. And we moved the National Hands-on Science Institute to something else.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it can be tough kind of facing
But that's the
those
reality,
situations. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I think that's the reality. It's not just all, hey, that's great, unicorns and rainbows.
yeah.
There's some tough stuff that we all go through.
Yeah, there's always, and I think some of the things that you said before is just, embracing failure as an opportunity for growth, learning and growing from. I know I found personally for me, I learn more when something doesn't succeed. I've found a new way that something doesn't work, and sometimes it can take a while. And so whether that's in trying to make a connection with someone like you're talking about with that little girl on Zoom. You found the one way that works, but you found 24 ways that don't. And now you know that information.
And by accident. By accident. The other thing is I look and I love the setup that you have here. When our television show is called DIY Sci, and we just wrapped up season 7. And so when we've been allowed to go into a school and work with kids, and we got a great crew, we've been traveling with that crew for 7 seasons. We know it's going to happen, and we purposely put time in the schedule for those kids who want to know about the cameras. And they're fascinated by the lighting and how do you do the sound. And you realize the science is one thing. They love this. And so we want the crew to be able to connect with them. So it's nothing formal. It's just you can see the kids that want to learn more. And so it's just that little extra time. And we're afforded that time because you don't know what spark you're going to ignite. But it's that kind of thing of building connection. And the unfortunate part is once you figure this stuff out, you're about ready to retire. And so you hope and pray that you can at least share some of these things with really young people to go. So think about this. When you've got the platform and you get the opportunity to do this, just hopefully that story resonates with you so that you'll do the same thing for kids someday. Because I'll be long gone,
That's great. Steve, thank you so much for sitting and just talking with us.
You're
and
so
sharing.
nice. I didn't blow up anything bad. I just did a little fire. Thank you for the thoughtful questions. And thanks for the opportunity to this Innovative School Summit. Nice job with the experience that you create for people. You're not trying to be anybody else. There are lots of conferences that are out there. This has a feel to it. There is an ISS feel. It really is great. So thank you for letting me and bringing me in and allowing me to be able to interact with your very special people.
Absolutely. We'll see you again sometime, maybe.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this inaugural season on the Innovative Schools podcast. I hope you enjoyed what we've done here. We're going to be back soon in just a couple months. We're taking a summer break, just like all of you guys should, to just build on what we've done here and how we can make it better for you guys in the next season. We hope that you enjoyed it. We hope that you learned things. We hope that you've shared this with other educators because it's been helpful to you. We definitely want to build this podcast. And so if you have ideas, leave us a comment, follow, subscribe, all that different stuff so that we can continue to make meaningful, helpful content for teachers and educators. We hope you have a great summer, and we'll see you next time.
Join us at the Innovative School Summit, the nation's top K-12 education conference. Connect with internationally recognized thought leaders, educators, and consultants as we dive into game-changing teaching strategies and research-based methods. Each summit features multiple conferences, all in one location, covering topics like at-risk students, innovative teaching strategies, school discipline, and more. Create your own learning experience by choosing sessions from any of the conferences. With events in cities like New York, Orlando, Las Vegas, Nashville, and San Antonio, there's always a summit near you. There are 2 upcoming summits, and we want you there. One in Las Vegas from July 7th through the 11th, and one in Nashville from July 14th through the 18th. Go to innovativeschoolsummit.com to register. See you there.
Earn professional development contact hours on AccuEd.com as you learn from the best in education. AccuEd.com is an online learning platform for educators with over 35 masterclass style courses. That's more than 75 professional development contact hours you can earn on subjects such as classroom management, innovative teaching strategies, student engagement, and several more. AccuEd.com is full of practical, insightful training from K-12 thought leaders such as Pedro Noguera, Michelle Borba, Baruti Kafele, Barbara Colaroso, and Michael Bonner. Head on over to AccuEd.com to get started. Come on, let's learn together.
Are you facing challenges at work, in your personal life, or with your relationships? The Self-Regulation Skill Set for Educators by Brad Chapin is a powerful resource designed to help you overcome obstacles and build resilience. Whether you're navigating classroom stress, balancing family life, or dealing with difficult situations in any part of your life, this book provides practical tools and strategies that can help you manage stress, improve emotional regulation, and find a path forward. The skills outlined in this book have already helped countless educators and individuals reduce stress and boost their ability to handle life's challenges. Ready to make a change? Visit youthlight.com and get your copy of the Self-Regulation Skill Set for Educators today.